My name is Sophie, and this is the story of how love entered my life, broke me into pieces, and then rebuilt me into someone stronger. I grew up believing in fairy tales, in promises that last forever, in words that never fade, and in people who never change. But life, I later learned, doesn't always follow those dreams. When I was in university, I met Daniel. He was quiet, gentle, and kind. The first time I saw him, he was sitting alone under a tree, sketching something in his notebook. I don't know why, but something about him felt calm, like a peaceful silence in the middle of noise. We became friends quickly. We used to sit in the library together, study late, and talk about our dreams. He wanted to become an architect, and I wanted to be a writer. We shared our fears, laughed at small things, and supported each other through stressful exams. One evening, it started raining heavily. Everyone ran for shelter, but Daniel stayed outside, smiling at the sky. I shouted from the corridor, "You'll get sick." He laughed and said, "Some moments are worth the rain." That night, I realized I was falling in love. Our friendship slowly turned into something deeper. We didn't even need to say it. Our eyes spoke everything. He started walking me to my hostel every evening. Sometimes he brought me coffee. Sometimes I brought him his favorite chocolate. Life felt perfect, like we were living inside one of my own stories. But love stories in real life rarely stay perfect. One day, Daniel told me he had received a big scholarship to study abroad. I was happy for him, but my heart felt heavy. He held my hand and said, "Sophie, it's just for 2 years. I'll come back. Promise me you'll wait." I nodded with a smile, but deep inside, I was scared. I didn't want to lose him. The night before he left, we met near the same tree where we first talked. The rain was falling again, soft and gentle, just like that first day. He looked at me with watery eyes and said, "No matter where I go, my heart will stay with you." I hugged him tightly, not knowing that it was the last time I'd feel his warmth. After he left, everything changed. At first, we texted every day, video called every weekend, and shared pictures of our new lives. But as months passed, the distance grew, not just in miles, but in feelings. His messages became shorter, his voice colder. I tried to understand. Maybe he was busy. Maybe he was tired. But deep down, I knew something was fading. One evening, I sent him a long message, telling him how much I missed him, how I still read our old chats, how empty everything felt without him. He didn't reply that night, or the next. After 3 days, I received a short message, greater than, "Sophie, please don't wait for me. I've met someone else. I'm sorry." My world stopped. My heart felt like it had broken into 1,000 silent pieces. I didn't cry immediately. I just stared at the message, numb and cold. The boy who once said he'd come back had found someone else. For weeks, I couldn't focus. I stopped writing, stopped going out. Every place reminded me of him, the park, the cafe, the library. Even the rain, once beautiful, now felt cruel. One night, my roommate Emily said softly, "Sophie, you can't keep living like this. You have to let go." Her words hurt, but they were true. Letting go. It sounded simple, but it felt impossible. How could I forget someone who had become a part of me? I opened my old notebook, the one Daniel used to sketch in. Between the pages, I found a drawing he made, a small bridge over water. Below it, he had written, Some people cross your life just to teach you how to walk alone. I stared at those words for a long time. Maybe love wasn't meant to last forever. Maybe it was meant to change us, to make us stronger, wiser, and kinder. Days turned into months. Slowly, I started writing again, about pain, about healing, about love that doesn't end with togetherness. Writing became my therapy, my escape, my strength. Each word I wrote helped me breathe again. Each story reminded me that heartbreak doesn't mean the end of love, it means the beginning of self-love. One evening, after months of silence, I went back to that old tree. The rain was falling, just like the first day we met. I stood there quietly and whispered, "Thank you, Daniel. You taught me how to love, and you taught me how to let go." And for the first time in a long while, I smiled. Months later, I finished university and started working as an assistant in a local publishing house. It wasn't a big job, but it gave me peace. I was surrounded by books, my oldest and truest friends. One day, while editing a short story about heartbreak, I smiled softly. The writer described love exactly how I had lived it: beautiful, painful, and unforgettable. I realized that millions of people had felt what I felt. I wasn't alone in my pain. That thought comforted me. So I decided to write my own story. I called it Letters I Never Sent. It was about a girl who loved deeply, lost painfully, and healed bravely. I didn't write it for fame. I wrote it for myself and for anyone who had ever loved and lost. When I finished, I sent it to my boss, expecting nothing. But 2 weeks later, she called me into her office, smiling brightly. "Sophie," she said, "we're going to publish your story. It's raw, real, and full of heart." My hands trembled. My pain had turned into words, and my words were now going to reach the world. The book became unexpectedly popular. People wrote to me saying how much they cried and healed after reading it. For the first time, I felt proud of my scars. They weren't signs of weakness anymore. They were proof that I had survived. A few months later, I was invited to speak at a literature event in the city. I was nervous, but excited too. When I stood on stage and saw hundreds of faces waiting to listen, I felt a calm confidence. I began, "I once thought love was about holding on. But life taught me that sometimes the most powerful kind of love is the one that lets go." People clapped softly, their eyes full of emotion. After the event, as I was signing books, I saw a familiar face in the crowd. My heart skipped a beat. It was Daniel. He looked almost the same, just a little older, more serious. For a moment, I couldn't move. Time froze. He walked closer and said softly, "Hi, Sophie." I didn't know how to respond. So many emotions rushed through me: anger, sadness, confusion, but also an odd peace. He smiled faintly. "I read your book. It was beautiful. You always had a way with words." "Thank you," I said quietly. "It came from a place you already know." There was silence, the kind that holds 1,000 unsaid things. Then he said, "I owe you an apology, not just for leaving, but for not explaining. I didn't meet someone else because I stopped loving you. I met someone because I was scared. Scared of not being enough for you. Scared of the distance. Scared of the future. I thought letting you go would make your life easier." His voice broke. But I was wrong. I hurt the only person who ever believed in me. I looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt understanding. Maybe time doesn't heal by erasing people. It heals by changing how we see them. I said softly, "We were young, Daniel. We didn't know what love really meant. You taught me how to feel, but life taught me how to grow." He nodded, his eyes wet. "I'm happy for you, Sophie. You turned pain into power." I smiled gently. "And you taught me the most beautiful lesson, that love isn't about forever, it's about transformation." He looked at me one last time and whispered, "Goodbye." As he walked away, I felt a strange calmness. There were no tears this time, only gratitude. Today, I still write stories about love, not the perfect kind, but the real kind, the kind that makes you cry, learn, and evolve. Whenever someone asks, "Do you still believe in love?" I smile and say, "Yes, I do." Because love, even when it breaks you, shapes you into who you're meant to be. I've learned that true love is not about finding the right person. It's about becoming the right person. Through every heartbreak, every goodbye, and every lesson. If you've ever loved someone who couldn't stay, remember this. Their absence might break your heart, but it can also build your soul. Letting go doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you choose peace over pain, gratitude over bitterness, and self-respect over longing. Because sometimes the most beautiful love story is the one you write with yourself. When Love Taught Me to Let Go is not just Sophie's story, it's every broken heart story. It's about pain that becomes purpose, loss that becomes wisdom, and love that becomes strength.